Hey YouTube, it's Scott Dikkers of How to Write Funny, and I'm going to talk to you about comedy tonight. And how do you know if you want to do comedy for a living or even just for a hobby? Everybody seems to want to do it. It's one of those like romantic jobs that everybody is like, oh, I wish I could do that, or et cetera, et cetera. What makes someone really built for doing comedy? Well, there's really only one thing, and that is you have to love doing it. And if you're young and you're trying to get into comedy and you're not sure, is this like a good idea? Is this a mistake? Am I going to be burning a lot of years? Am I going to regret this? If you love it, it doesn't really matter if you're successful or not. What matters is you're getting to do what you love, and that's great. So if you're starting out and you're not sure, don't worry about it. Like, get a day job, make sure it's not a challenging day job. Get an easy day job and do comedy in your spare time. Do it obsessively, do it as much as you can, and do it because you love it. Whether you succeed or not, you've succeeded because you're doing what you love. And when you love to do something, so here's another thing. People starting out, they are afraid of failing. They're afraid of producing something terrible. And when you start out, you're going to produce something terrible. Guaranteed. We all do. That's what you do starting out. You're awful. And you're lucky to get any kind of traction with what you're doing. But how do you get good at something? Well, you do it over and over and over. You practice it and you get better at it. With comedy, you practice it in front of an audience. You either do live comedy or you produce comedy and you present it to an audience, whether on YouTube or in prose or in a publication, however you do it. The more you do it, the better you get. It's practice that makes perfect. So if you love it, doesn't matter that you suck. Doesn't matter that you're failing at it. You're going to keep doing it because you love it. This is how everyone succeeds in comedy. They just keep doing it because they love it, and they don't care whether they succeed or fail because they've got their fallback job or whatever. They're doing fine. Now, some people, when they're starting out, they tend to overthink their work. And it's really a lot more important to just put the work out there. Don't overthink it. Try something, listen to your gut, put it out there, put it in front of people, see what kind of reaction you get. And next time you put something out, take into account maybe how your last work was received by the audience. So if you're doing, for example, 10 ideas a day, which I recommend, write 10 funny ideas every day. They can be an idea for a book. They can be an idea for a web series. They can be an idea for a stand-up set, whatever you want. They can be individual jokes. It doesn't matter. 10 ideas a day is money in the bank for anyone in comedy. Write them quick. Write those 10 ideas in like 20 minutes. And don't worry about whether they're funny or not. Doesn't matter. Just write the 10 ideas. Look back at them a week or so later. See if any of them strike you as funny. If they do, use them. Maybe finesse them a little bit, but put them out there. Use them. And keep that process going. Often people wonder if they're overthinking their jokes. And I'll tell you this, in all my years, I have almost never seen someone who underthought their comedy. 9 times out of 10, the problem is people overthink their comedy. They work too hard on a project or too long before presenting it to audiences. That's a mistake. Bootstrap it, slap it together, make it as good as you can, put it out there. Learn from it, make something else. It's the only way you're going to get better. In terms of performing, get on stage, do something, perform. Whatever that is for you. Parody music, comedy, doesn't matter. Get a reaction, come back to the drawing board, go back out on stage, try it again. Or in this day and age, Zoom. So the way to not overthink humor is just that. Come up with your 10 ideas, try something, put it in. If you're worrying about whether it works or not, if you're continuing to tweak it without actually putting it out, you're overthinking it. And it's a big mistake. It's getting in your way. So don't let it. Now, what if you have a complex subject? Is it possible to overthink that? Because you don't want to take a really important, complex subject and simplify it and just throw it out there, because that could reflect poorly on you and might even offend people, who knows. So I still recommend that you don't overthink complex subjects. So if your subtext of your humor is a really complex idea, how do you simplify it to make it digestible by most audiences? Because it's really important that all comedy be accessible. People have to get it. They have to understand what you're doing. They cannot be confused. Confusion is the number one enemy of getting laughs. I'll give you an example. So there was an article in The Onion I saw today that the US government came up with an anti-gaming serum that can cure people of their urge to be gamers, and they're mandating that every gamer take the serum. And I thought, okay, that's really interesting. That's a really complex idea that has subtext that's difficult to describe in like a quick sentence. Like, I generally like when subtext can be really simple: subject, verb, object. You know, politicians are liars. Doctors are beholden to the pharmaceutical companies. You know, those are good subtexts for jokes. And I was trying to articulate what the subtext was of that Onion joke, and it was very complex. It was like, some people don't want to take the vaccine because they feel like it's the government intruding on their lives. Those people are idiots, and everyone should take the vaccine. I don't understand why it's not mandatory. We all had to take vaccines to go to school when we were kids, and it cured polio. So get over it, people. I'm getting off track. But it's also saying that if you're not an anti-vax wacko, if you're just a regular dude and you like playing video games, what if the government came and said you can't play video games anymore? You're going to get a serum that means you can't play video games anymore. It's like putting perhaps a non-vaxxer in the shoes of a vaxxer to see the world the way they see it. And that's really interesting. And it's a new angle on this subject matter for humor that I haven't seen. And analyze how they made it simple, how they simplified that complex subtext. They simply made an analogy. So analogy is one of the 11 funny filters. It's one of the tools you can use to make any idea into a funny idea. And by analogizing the anti-vaxxer situation to the gaming situation, by just making up this fake serum that cures gaming, you're creating an analogy for the COVID vaccine, and you're able to talk about it without talking about it. And it's really simple, it's really gettable, and that's one way. There are other ways. If you have a complex subject, you can just start making a list of simple opinions that you have about that complex subject. And once you have a simple, like, subject, verb, object opinion about a subject, then you can run it through the various funny filters: irony, hyperbole, parody, wordplay, whatever you want, and see if you can come up with funny jokes. Thanks for the comment. I'm not going to even, oh, you got to be kidding me. That's your name. Thank you. So that's a way to simplify, another way to simplify a complex subject. So to recap, don't overthink your comedy. It's really important for the audience that comedy be simple and gettable and accessible. So no matter how complex your subject matter is, make it simple using some of the tools I talked about. And don't worry about failure. Don't worry about it not working. Failure is the best teacher. So if you expect to go out and kill every day, you're not going to learn anything. You're only going to learn when you go out there and bomb. So get it over with, get your education, and the more you do it, the less painful it's going to be. I hope that's been helpful for you all. For more comedy tips, you can go to howtowritefunny.com. I've got a lot of free resources there. I've got some ebooks. I've got the How to Write Funny podcast, which is interviews with comedy professionals, both famous and non-famous, in front of the camera, behind the camera. gives you a kind of a broad look at the field of comedy and comedy writing. And there's some really great inspirational stories being told there. You can also sign up for courses with me. I teach a comedy business school course, which teaches you how to succeed in the comedy business and navigate that. And then there's How to Write Funny, which is my basic how to write a joke class, which gets you started in writing comedy by starting with the fundamental task of writing a single joke. And I've got some other workshops there as well. And I hope to hear from you. If you have any comments on this video, please leave them. I usually respond. And if you like this video, subscribe to the channel. Tell your comedy friends to subscribe. I upload the podcast here, and I'm going to be doing more videos. I apologize if my sound is terrible. I'm working on that. I got a mic plugged in. The computer says it's working, but sometimes it just doesn't read the microphone. It uses the damn computer microphone regardless. And same thing with Facebook. I got a mic on, and sometimes Facebook just doesn't recognize the mic. It uses the phone mic, and I'm too far away from the phone. So I'm going to be upgrading, getting some equipment, getting some streaming stuff. So I am going to be doing more videos. If you like this and you want to subscribe, you can look forward to that. All right, everybody, thanks for watching, and go out there and be funny, and I'll talk to you later.